Subscribe to our radio shows at iTunes or with your favorite podcatcher. Do not settle. Demand. Sportsnet 590 The Fan on demand. Still chirping long after the whistle. This is Hockey Central at noon on the Sportsnet Radio Network.
From downtown Toronto, this is Hockey Central at noon with Darren Millard. Today we are going to get way into the Carolina Hurricanes situation. A surprising announcement last night because with 5.5 weeks to go in the NHL season, a general manager was moved aside. Promoted? Maybe on paper, but not quite in the grand scheme of the organization. So Ron Francis is no longer the general manager of the Carolina Hurricanes as the search has started. We will get right into that. Also, look ahead to games like Philadelphia and Boston, the implications in the Eastern Conference. Winnipeg and New Jersey, Taylor Hall chasing down his consecutive game with a point streak. Colorado, Columbus, massive game for those teams. New York Islanders and the likes of Vegas, the Tampa Bay Lightning, and the Montreal Canadiens against the Florida Panthers. It is a busy night in the National Hockey League here in the studio with Nick Kypreos and Doug MacLean. Before we get too far into this Carolina situation, just your first impressions on it, and then I will come back with just because I feel like I'm going to have to be the soother, the calmer, and the sort of a voice of reason through this whole thing. Because Tom Dundon is a 48-year-old guy who is hands-on in everything that he does, was very upfront with everybody that's the way he was going to control his ownership of the Carolina Hurricanes. This isn't a big surprise. And then he comes in, and one of his first move is to move Ron Francis aside with a few weeks left in the National Hockey League season. So first impressions from you guys.
Well, when the first day he was hired, it was, I am going to let Ron Francis be the hockey guy. I'd be idiotic to be the hockey guy when I've got a legendary guy like Ron Francis running my team. That was the opening comments. So now, 3 months later, with 15 games left and his team 4 points out of the playoffs, he essentially fires his general manager. I guess the timing bothers me a little bit as to how obviously it got really bad there. It was a personality conflict. It was he wanted to do more than Ron wanted to do. He wanted Ron to stray from Ron's plan, obviously. And owners can do that. So I have a lot of respect for Ron Francis as a former player and as a hockey guy. Paid his dues. He's a worker. He's into it. So I'm disappointed that this happened because I thought he had I know he hasn't made the playoffs in 4 years. You pay the price for that. The owner can do whatever he wants. I just find it bizarre that you come in this quick and in 3 months you fire your executive vice president and general manager instead of just letting the season end, stepping back, and making a rational decision instead of one like this. Maybe it is rational. Maybe he saw all he wanted to see, but I find it bizarre.
Nick?
Well, as Doug mentioned, I mean, you're the owner of the team. You can do whatever the hell you want, right? I mean, that's what comes when you stroke a check for $50 million cash or whatever it ended up being for his portion of the team and controlling interest. He has that right. But I would tell you right now that this has been a bad season for memos because I look at the release of the Carolina Hurricanes and I don't know who ultimately Tom stamped this thing, but I cannot believe for 1 second there wasn't somebody in that organization that he could trust and go, man, that's a bad idea.
The press release announcing the change.
Press release
Should I say
is
this?
a bad idea. Okay?
What didn't you like?
How long do we have? Seriously, it's only an hour show. Let's start with that. There's no talk about a promotion. Okay, so for the first time,
Do you want to read the quote or?
Yeah, you go ahead. Go ahead, read it. We have it, do we not?
Yeah, but do you want the release or just the quote? What do you have most trouble with?
The one that I have is that he's being now moved to a different department, I guess. Right?
So the release says Tom Dundon, new owner and governor of the National Hockey Carolina Hurricanes, today announced that Ron Francis will transition into a new role with the team as president of hockey operations.
But a new role. So
Bill
it's not
conducted a full search.
But here's
hold on. Here's and then the quote.
Yes.
Since I took control of the team, I've had a good chance to be around and assess the operations. There are a lot of good people working in the organization, but I feel that a change in direction is needed when it comes to hockey personnel decisions.
So
that's the one that drove me crazy.
My point is that you look at 3 or 4 things on this, and number one, that it's not a promotion. Okay. Number 2, that he says I feel a need and change in direction. Okay, so that's Ron Francis's direction that he's not happy with.
Yeah,
but you also isolate his whole team. It's just not Ron Francis here. There's an assistant general manager. There's a director of player personnel. There's 15 scouts.
Director of amateur scouting.
You have now essentially insulted everybody here.
In hockey ops.
In hockey operations. That's number 2. Number 3, you've stipulated, you made it abundantly clear in your press release that the new guy is coming to me, okay? So whatever pecking order that we've established in the NHL now, whether it's ownership, president of hockey ops, general manager, assistant GM, coach, is out the window. So we're really now...
What makes you say that?
Because when it comes to the direction in which it comes to hockey personnel decisions, that's not just the GM.
You've insulted everybody.
But
what makes you think that the hierarchies changed? It
was in the release, was it not? That the coach, the new general manager, will report directly to me?
Yeah.
Was that not in it?
Yeah, it was.
It's not. This isn't the clean release. Okay, that was abundantly clear as well. So now, I don't understand then what really Ron Francis is doing then.
He's not doing anything.
He's not doing it. Maybe signing autographs in between periods. I don't know what he wants from him.
I suspect the situation is, and I don't know. I know Ron has 1 year left on his contract, so I suspect. I mean, do we really? You know Ron Francis. I know Ron Francis. Do you think he wants to be there? I can't imagine.
Okay. So, listen, again, full circle, it's your team. You can do whatever you want. And it's okay if you want the new guy to report directly to you and bypass Ron Francis. I'm okay with that. Why are we telling everybody?
Yeah.
Why?
It does say in the release.
What benefit?
The Hurricanes will conduct a full search for a new general manager who will report directly to Doug.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So what purpose does that piece of information have to go public and embarrass Ronnie Francis? Do you see any reason at all?
No, none.
Listen, if it's true, that's fine. You know what? Tell as many people as you want on the side. Tell your head pro at the golf course. Tell anybody you want. But don't go public and tell everybody that you just moved Ron Francis to president of hockey op.
Or move him out. Or say, Ron, you're not part of the organization anymore.
Yeah, that would be the part. That's probably one of the most confusing parts of this.
Yeah,
is
and you make it president.
If he's out, he's out.
And you make him president of hockey ops? Yeah. Like, come on. So I have a lot of respect for Ron, and I think he had this organization on the right track. This guy comes in. I know he's a smart guy, and it took him only 3 months to figure out the NHL. Some guys have figured it out quicker than that. Some guys have taken longer than that. But obviously, I hope he makes the right decision.
There's some people telling me he's not. He's not going to be one of those super fan owners.
Tom Dundon, yeah,
right. He's not, and everybody compares him to maybe Mark Cuban or last night you mentioned Jerry Jones, one of those guys who wants to. There's no question that he is.
Jerry Jones has a football
college
background.
Football.
Yeah, so
yeah.
Still not. I'm just talking about the relationship of an owner and being a hands-on type of guy. This guy, I'm telling you right now, wants access to the coaches and the players.
Yep.
Okay? No question about it. That's not our culture, and that's not what we've been accustomed to. Now, on the side, has it happened? Yeah, probably here and there. We know there's special circumstances, good relationships over the years. I mean, we just left one in Annapolis between Ted Leonsis and Ovechkin. I get it.
Listen, we've got people, we've got owners in this league who send texts to the coaches between periods telling them what line changes to make. So it has changed. It has changed. And I'm thinking, what is going on here?
Which team is that?
Well, I can't say because it's confidential information, but it happened, okay? It happened.
And he knows about it. And you don't need to name
teams. Don't have to name teams.
But it does happen.
But, because they're sitting with certain parts of the management team that aren't on the same page with the coach, and they're making these suggestions to the owner. They're in the owner's ear. I'd like to know who's giving this guy his advice.
Yeah, there's a hockey whisperer.
I'd like to know who that is, okay? Yeah. When I was a president and GM, I had the owner's buddies. I had former players. I had an accountant. They're all in his ear, It happens.
Everybody has a hockey whisperer.
Right. They have it. So who's giving this guy this advice?
I've talked to a few people over the last, 17 hours since this broke, trying to figure it out. And there's a few names that keep popping up, but and maybe
because
he's from the Dallas area.
You know what?
Okay, hold on for a second.
Maybe it's Mark Cuban. It's Mark Cuban.
You just said something.
Might be.
He's from the Dallas area.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have no doubt that I get it. There's people whispering. I respect
respect
what you're saying, but this guy is the last few months has gone through this thing with a fine-tooth comb. Okay, he's making all his decisions, in my opinion, based on what he's witnessed. Okay? I just wonder now, if you want to be that hands-on, okay, that means, for me, you got to be in there every day. I'm sorry, but when you want to really, truly understand an organization, I don't care if we're talking about Carolina, Sportsnet, you got to live it and see it. And you got to talk to these people that are underneath you on a daily basis, because that's all that matters, is what they're doing and how they're feeling. And if you want to be a part of that, then that's okay too. Again, you own the team, you're entitled to it. But is that going to continue? Are you moving to Carolina? You're from the Texas area, Dallas area. Like, are you willing now to go and make that an everyday job?
Because what he'll do is he's going to hire his general manager, and his general manager will report to him, and basically that will be his interaction. Maybe your suggestion. That GM then will also be responsible for the hockey operations part. So he still will only have the GM talking to him.
No.
In all likelihood, or the coach. I don't know how he's going to structure it. And he can structure it any way he wants. But I'll tell you one thing. Running an NBA team like Mark Cuban is, when you've got 2 or 3 really main players that you have to deal with, is a lot different than managing an NHL franchise with scouts all over the world and players being scouted all over I know they do in basketball too, but it's a little different, the actual playing group. In basketball, it's a group of how many really play.
Okay, we're 15 minutes into this, and I've made a few notes here. I just want to run through them. And one of them is, first and foremost, the owner can do what he wants because he paid for the team.
Totally, I agree with that.
We said that.
I know.
You're paraphrasing.
I'm going from what you guys said. Okay.
Right. Okay.
So some things that you guys have said. The owner can do what he wants because he paid for the team. Why do we have an issue with this then? If he can do what he wants, he can do what he wants.
Doesn't make it right. Just because you can do what you want doesn't make it right.
He can. I guess what I would say to that, Darren, is he can do it. And if he did it at the end of the year, sat back and did his full evaluation and said, okay, that we're done for the season. We're going to step back. We're going to do preparations for the draft. I want a new guy in place. I have no problem with that.
So timing is another thing.
Timing is a thing that bothered me when you're 4 points out.
Is that not the biggest issue everybody has with this? Is the timing of it?
Well, you know what? There's a couple issues. The timing of it and how bad was this personality conflict. Obviously, Ron wanted to run the organization one way, and the new owner
that goes to philosophical differences
wanted to run it another way. And I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that because you can't have the butting heads going on. It's not good for anybody. And I suspect this was a conversation. Ron, you and I have different management styles, and it's not working. And Ron would say, I can tell you it's not working. We're not going to be able to work together. I don't know if that's what's said, but I guarantee it was something along those lines. And Ron said, I can't manage this team like this, and you don't want me managing this team like this.
Listen, and just to follow up what you said, yeah, it's his right, but it doesn't necessarily make it right. And our jobs here is to analyze and tell you from our experience as people that have been around this thing for a long time that we find holes in it, okay? We find holes in it from the press release to the style, right? And if you ask both of us, I think this kind of style that he's leaning towards isn't necessarily a recipe for success.
Well, it's not traditional hockey style.
Okay, that's right. So do your homework. Go down to Florida, meet with the Panthers the last two years, and ask them how it worked out for them, okay? Ask them how you had to go back on your hands and knees and beg Dale Talon to come back after you went a certain way. Hello?
Yeah. Totally.
No?
Totally.
Am I speaking out of line here?
No.
How'd that work out for the Florida Panthers?
Yeah. So
I expected this. I did expect it because he's not this traditional hockey guy. He's a 48-year-old
you know what? I think, Darren,
billionaire.
And I think you can look around the league and you say, okay, in all sports, and say, okay, who are the most successful organizations and why? Like the New England Patriots are a model. I remember when Vinny Viola bought the Florida Panthers. We are going to be the Kraft family of South Florida. Well, that's a great aspiration. The Kraft family, how he runs his operation, I guess that's the model in pro sports.
They win, but it's not. That's not the most traditional operation either.
But I'm talking owner letting his people do their job. You know what I mean? In most cases. But it doesn't matter to me. Hey, if Tom Dundon's successful, he may end up hiring the best GM in the world, and that's great, and they win and become successful, and then I'll congratulate him. I just don't like the way it's done. I mean, Tony Romo's in the dressing room the other night. That's great. It's this, and then all of a sudden Ronnie Francis gets the boot. I don't like it.
Are either of you willing to accept that there might be justification, a reason why Tom Dundon, the owner, would want to make a change at general manager based on team performance?
No, I don't have a problem with that.
Right, okay. You can accept.
Listen, I can accept if it was done at the end of the year.
You may not agree with it, but there's points to it.
But I think what Nick said, the way it was done is BS. If you don't want Ronnie Francis, you fire him at the end of the year. You start your search. You send out
Listen,
I don't like it. But anyway, that's fine. They don't have to please me.
Let's go back to performance here, okay? Are they not still in a playoff race? If Eugene Melnyk released this for the Ottawa Senators and Dorian, would we have been as surprised as Ron Francis? Like, they're in a race. Granted, it's probably not moving as fast as Tom would like, but I still see a team that's still in it. They're still in it. I don't get it. I don't get it.
They win tonight, and a couple of teams lose. They're 2 points out of the playoffs.
They have some good pieces. They're not trending the other way. ever so slowly, but are they not trending up? Do they not have good pieces?
Right.
Do they not get a couple of those defensemen like Slavin under contract, reasonable contract?
They're trending in the right. So there's also
But
a
Scott
rumbling.
Darling didn't work out, and
right.
and
To me,
Turris and- yeah.
Scott Darling, okay, didn't work out, but you can see where Ronnie Francis went on that, right? With the Cam Talbot coming, those up and coming back
I
up
agree.
guys.
And you know
so
what,
Cam
Darren?
Talbot had success. Jones had success. It wasn't that big of a gamble to give up a third rounder
And not
to
only
take
that,
his rights to sign him.
go
to
to
contract.
any general manager in the league, and I can show you at least 2 deals that didn't work out. That happens. It's part of the business. So at the end of the day,
Final point on this. Mark Cuban, and then we will move on. The Mark Cuban comparison. Is that, if that ends up being somewhat in the neighborhood, is that a good thing, or is it necessarily a bad thing? I think that it's okay.
I don't have
Cuban's had success.
I don't have a problem with Mark Cuban's style, but Mark Cuban has really engaged himself in the organization. He's involved in personnel decisions. He's involved in coaching decisions. He's involved in trade decisions. Mark Cuban has jumped into this with both feet, as you mentioned. In Dallas, since day one that he bought that team, he has jumped in.
He runs the team.
Yeah.
On a daily basis.
I know he has management people underneath him, but nobody does anything there without getting his approval. And if Tom Dundon wants to do it that way, I don't have any problem with that.
Me neither.
I don't have any problem with that. But you know what the bottom line is going to come down to, Darren? It's who he hires. And who he hires, hire the best person you can hire and make sure that person isn't afraid to make decisions when it comes to the hockey
No,
part.
he's going to hire a yes man.
Well, if he hires a yes man, he's in trouble. He's in trouble. Because he doesn't know the game. I mean, he's 3 months into the game. He's walking around the Carolina Hurricanes the other night with a hoodie, a Hartford Whaler hoodie on.
That's okay though. What's wrong with that?
No, it's not okay. That's the team that essentially. What happened to the Whalers? Did they fold or just
Relocated?
They relocated. Whatever happened.
They are the old ones.
I know. Like, serious. Wear a Carolina Hurricanes hoodie, not a Hartford Whalers hoodie.
okay.
It
Minor.
is more of his style, the ball cap.
You know
and the
what?
hoodie.
The bottom line is, if he hires good people and he's involved,
Well, listen, there's two
it's
type.
fine.
There's two type of owners or rich people. Okay, they want people that tell them what they want to hear, or they want people to challenge them.
Big time.
Okay,
That's the key.
I'm so interested in who that guy is. And to your point, yes, man, or a guy that can sit there and say, hey, listen,
This is the way to
working
do
with
it.
you, Tom, is going to be a challenge, but I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. I'm here to tell you that if you want me to do this job, I'm going to do it to the
And you
best
know
of my
what?
abilities, and I'm going to challenge you. At the end of the day, you have you are the final say, but I'm not here to just, have you pull my strings all day.
So, and maybe he'll do that. Maybe he will do that.
right?
And
Yeah.
and you know what? If he does, credit to him. And
I'll tell you, it's going to take a special guy. It's going to, and our buddy, the late Brian Murray. Okay, say what you will. We know Eugene Melnick is a very challenging owner, and he has a lot to say. But Brian did a hell of a job with Eugene,
Brian handled him.
and Eugene had a lot of respect for him.
Brian,
And that's the type of relationship it's going to take in Carolina.
Do you know how
for the ownership to work with another?
Brian,
guy.
how
Brian
easy-
Murray was not a yes man.
No, he wasn't. But you know how? But he could. Like,
But
I
he could
watched Brian.
massage relationships.
I watched Brian Murray work with Abe Poland. I watched Brian Murray work with Mike Ilitch. I watched him work with Wayne Huizenga. He was as good as anybody. I wish I would have paid more attention to him. How he dealt with his bosses.
And success followed.
Right. So anyway, it'll be interesting because if Darren, one final thing. If you buy an NHL team because you want to become a star, you have problems. And some people have bought teams to become stars. I love, you know who I love watching how he runs his hockey team? Vinnick in Tampa Bay. I love how he's done. You know who else? I like how Brendan Shanahan, he's not the owner, but how Brendan has put people in jobs, you know?
See, and Doug speaks from experience because he got into media because he wanted to be a star, and now he knows that it just doesn't work that way.
Superstar.
I know this. I know this. We are 25 minutes into this show, and the Carolina Hurricanes and Tom Dundon, Ron Francis, have been the only topic of conversation.
Great.
And for 9 hours on trade deadline day, we didn't talk about the Carolina Hurricanes once.
Listen,
And that
may not be,
Hey.
and this whole thing may not be a bad
Right.
thing. And we shouldn't judge Tom Dundon on one decision.
No, and that is a very valid point because that's a one knock I have against Ron is that we just didn't hear enough about the Carolina Hurricanes. And sometimes, you know, Doug will know this, that sometimes you just put stuff out for the sake of putting stuff out. And every once in a while, it would have been nice to hear from Ronnie Francis to say, we were close, but it just didn't seem like the right fit. That, to me, is typical of a lot of general managers who just want to make sure that they're in it. But I want to say one more thing, too. Since this guy came over, okay, not one dime went to Ron Francis, okay, not one dime. No thought of, hey, listen, what do you need? Can I add an extra player? Can we get over the hump here? That I know for a fact never happened.
And I'll tell you another thing. We didn't hear from them on trade deadline, Darren, but for a couple of months, we've heard a lot of rumblings coming out about some serious chaos in this organization. Would you agree with that?
Chaos, no philosophical differences.
And chaos.
Yeah.
I'll add chaos to it.
Chaos is the White House.
Yeah. No, it's so, okay. That's the same word I'm looking for then. So there was a lot of philosophical differences.
We'll see what happens with Bill Peters. I think Bill Peters may survive because there seems to be a connection there. But
there wasn't early on, then that changed.
It struck me as odd the day after trade deadline day when I was thinking about it, that this is a Carolina team that we've all said the most surprising thing about this is they make a change in general manager with them in the race, but on trade deadline day with a team in the race, we didn't talk about them.
The two teams that were in the race that we thought would do something would be Carolina and the Islanders that day.
But it wasn't even we didn't assume Carolina was going to do anything because we didn't talk about potential deals. When we continue, Austin Matthews skates the Flames with their arguably best performance of the year. And we'll also get to some history for Sidney Crosby and talk about Taylor Hall. But we're going to have to fly through it. It's Hockey Central and Sportsnet 590, The Fan, your Carolina Hurricane Network, also on the NHL Network.
We can start you up at any given time. The starting lineup with Brady and Price. Available in podcast form on iTunes and with your favorite podcatcher. Sportsnet 590 The Fan on demand. Now, more Hockey Central on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Back at Hockey Central at noon, you guys have done the impossible. This is Darren Millard here with Doug McLean.
Is there any chance, Doug, you would like to put your resume in for the Carolina
somebody asked me that.
GM job based on our first block?
I think we just send that block to them.
Scratch Doug McLean off the list.
No, if Tom Dundon wants to make sure to tell the world that he's not hiring a yes man, he hires Doug.
Well,
Yeah.
listen,
A no man.
there's only 31 of those jobs. There will be a long lineup.
Absolutely.
Oh, there will be.
And people we wouldn't put necessarily in the category of yes men will be in there. Mm-hmm. You guys have done the impossible. You've chased away Matt Brown, the producer. Can we get a shot of Matt's desk and his chair? Oh, there he is.
There, you know what? He's wearing.
Gone. He's had enough of you guys.
No, he's there. He's just wearing the Leafs outdoor uniform.
Well, that would mean a white background. I like those sweaters, although it's still causing much conversation. Austin Matthews skates. Would you expect him to play Saturday?
Zero, not a chance. I would. I wouldn't.
Well, it does make sense.
I wouldn't put him in.
With the break, why would you even consider it?
I
Well, there you are.
So
We thought we scared you away.
and I said this earlier on the morning show. Like,
You okay? Okay.
Like, wouldn't
Worried
you
about
be a little more nervous watching what's going on with Mark Scheifele.
Yeah. They say it's not the same related to the same
But it's
injury
the
before.
same shoulder.
I thought it was a different shoulder. But you're right. Totally right about rushing him back.
I think
what's
it's
the
the
break?
right.
What's
it's
the
right
break
shoulder.
after this game? Then isn't there a number of days off between the next game? Well,
They have one game in 8 days.
Yeah, so it's a no. You don't play him.
Okay.
Wadley's 100%, so he's 100%.
Yeah. And I hope
110%. Can
I
you beat
hope
that?
I hope for Scheifele that it is minor and he can come back because
You do.
the last thing the Winnipeg Jets need is a guy going into the playoffs here with a shoulder that's 50 or 60%.
And going into the playoffs when you're number one. I mean, they got by without him because of Wheeler and those guys stepping up and doing an unbelievable job and their kids. But this is different. If you're going into the playoffs without this guy.
Sure makes Paul Stastny's acquisition even better. Flames hammer the Sabres. This looks like the middle square on the bingo card in retrospect, but there is a lot of angst on the Calgary side going into that game last night against the Sabres that had won 3 of 4, and the Calgary Flames had lost 4 straight. And that was as good of a response. Total team game. They controlled the puck. They did everything. The great forecheck. Yeah, you showed the Backlund steal, the third line, Doug, and then the first line. Like, that was a great game.
Their defense contributed with 6 points. It was
a perfect response.
in a game with even though it was Buffalo, and Buffalo have had a tough year. Calgary, it doesn't matter who it was last night. They were coming to play, and it was all about the results. I thought they played a terrific game. I love the way Glenn Gulutzan handled the team too. I love his preparation going in. I don't know the behind the scenes what he did, but I loved the way he's handled the team through some tough times.
You liked your question about what's he going to do next?
Listen, I'm sorry, but Buffalo, no show.
You're right.
6 shots on goal. Please. You can't really.
But they had won 4
I get
of their
it. You need
previous
to
6.
build on it for sure, but they've lost 3 of 7 prior to that.
Yeah.
They're just winning games they're supposed to win.
But they also, fired 51 shots at Lundqvist. They had a pretty strong game in Pittsburgh. They were frustrated that the play was there, the results weren't. So last night they weren't letting it go. They were getting it. Buffalo or not. Buffalo's beat 4 pretty good teams in the last 10 days.
And what do they have to go? 11-3 or 11?
No, 9-3
9-3.
3 was the
8-3-2 now.
Stop it. Yeah, 8-3-3 now.
For 95 or 96
For 95.
points?
For 95.
96, 97.
70%. They need 70% of their points.
But they got
beat-
LA.
they beat if they get Ottawa tomorrow night, if they win that game, they go through this 3-game road trip, winning 5 to 6 points, and they may get Mike Smith. Gulutzan sure sounded
Like he's ready.
optimistic that Smith's going to play in the next few days.
Boy, a lot of pressure on him to come back and
Yeah.
be great right away.
There should be. He's their best player.
Yeah.
They need, and
Sometimes
look,
it's not that easy.
in fairness to the
What
Calgary,
did they say? He was only going to miss 2 games?
He was,
Remember that conversation?
He was day to day.
in
Yeah,
fairness to the
day-to-day.
Calgary Flames organization, that's with the way he's played, that's a monumental loss for that group. Big. So
As you say, huge.
You talked about Gulutzan handling his team, and we talked about I
thought it was Gulutzan.
No, it's Gulutzan. When we talked to Glenn, because he's a big vibe guy, like he loves reading his team, but
it's like Nick, he
Mark-
likes reading the press clippings.
Mark Giordano, before the game, was on the stationary bike, and Ryan Leslie, our host and works for Flames TV, was doing an interview with Tim and Ivanka, or Sid and Ivanka, and Mark was behind him.
Pretty
and
relaxed.
He was waving. He was mocking the camera. It was
Pretty
kind of one of
relaxed.
those neat moments of a guy that was not getting too caught up in the drama.
And the commentary from the morning skate through the day, I liked it. I give Glenn, and I don't know Glenn like you
So
guys
you
do.
have a good vibe they're going to make the playoffs.
I didn't say that. I had a good vibe. They're
What's
going to
the
win
point
last
then?
night.
They were great against the 30th place overall team.
I think they will make the playoffs.
I'm a fan
There
of
you
Glenn.
go.
I'm
I
a
think
fan
they'll
of
make
Glenn.
the
There
playoffs.
you go.
I do.
I think you've come around to, well, you don't know him, but
I don't know him at all.
You've sort of been drawn into or appreciate his.
I like his style. I like the way he handles the media. I like the way he handles his team. I like lots
Throws
about
a
him.
stick.
I like he throws a stick. He drinks beer with the boys. I like that he's doing whatever it takes. I like his style a lot, and I think he's probably a pretty good guy.
1,100 points for Sidney Crosby.
How many?
1,100.
Is that good?
3 assists last night.
Seriously.
That passing play between Malkin, Crosby, and Kessel.
So
Through the legs.
is
Boom,
this
boom, boom.
is this Sid's 12th year in the NHL?
Yes.
So we got to go to 2000.
Like, is it?
Coming out of the lockout?
So isn't it something you're 12 years deep into your career, and the players say you're the toughest guy in the league to play against? Toughest guy in the league to play against.
Like
That's
in all
quite a
honesty,
compliment.
Though, like who else is there?
Well, I watched Connor McDavid play live the other night. He's not easy to play against, I'll tell you that. But
No
you know,
comparison,
Ovechkin.
please.
Ovechkin.
Listen,
no, I'm not comparing.
yeah,
them.
no comparison.
Ovechkin, Malkin. I mean, but Sid is the point I'm making is 12 years deep into his career, what he's done, what he's accomplished, and he's still the toughest guy in the league to play against, according to the players. That's quite a compliment.
Should have been a lot higher.
Yeah, it should have been. He is
not even close.
He is so special. It's unbelievable.
You know the Hart Trophy wording most valuable to his team?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how Malkin, Kessel, or Crosby ever win it when you play with the other two.
Yeah.
Because all three of them have had great years. I want to get to one poll question, but before we do that, the Predators look for their 10th straight win.
Wow.
They are grooving. They're now sitting out guys. And
Are we not looking at a Penguins, Nashville times two?
what about Tampa?
Ugh, I don't know. Sometimes you watch those three guys you just mentioned, and it's like,
You know what?
I would not want to play Pittsburgh, and I would not want to play Nashville. I'm telling you, boys, they're hitting it.
But if we get a Nashville-Vegas Western Conference final, there's not going to be any media left to cover the Stanley Cup Championship Series.
Why?
they'll be at the
Vegas and Nashville. Can you imagine a series?
What do they do there?
Tootsie's with a blackjack table.
Yeah.
Pick your choice if you want to find somebody in the media.
Circus
Hey,
LA,
okay, I'm putting in right now a request. If it's a Vegas Nashville final,
Western Conference final.
Yes.
Yeah.
Doug wants to travel.
We're taking HC at noon.
I will do stats.
We are taking HC noon on the road.
I will do stats to travel.
You know those
I don't have
series.
to be on the air.
We've had things in the past where we've gone where because of travel and stuff, we've had to put a camera operator in one city and a camera operator in another, and they just stay there.
Well, I would do that too.
Nashville, Vegas thing. We also have Devils forward Taylor Hall against Patrick Laine as they hook up tonight. Laine is going, and Taylor Hall is
what's his
wild.
point streak?
Well, which one? Points with consecutive appearances with a point?
Yes.
Is it 20?
Or it's
Yes. 20.
29?
26 consecutive appearances with a point.
What does that mean, appearances?
Because he missed 3
Injuries.
games in between in the middle of it. So it's
Yeah,
not
that's right.
consecutive games.
Yeah.
Okay, so should we not have Andrew Cogliano on his consecutive appearance streak
Yes.
of games played still?
Sort of,
definitely.
yeah.
Most definitely.
What's
We're
the
gonna-
difference?
We're going to change that.
You've been sitting on that, haven't you? That's a good one.
Yeah, we're going to change that.
That's a good one.
I'm sitting there going, okay, this guy gets to miss games either
But he
because
keeps
of
his streak.
like
No, the NHL doesn't recognize Taylor Hall's
Oh, okay.
streak.
So-
we call it appearances. And the Devils call it appearance. The Devils are
Right.
talking about it. But the NHL,
that's right.
Yeah, right.
I had
He has a
620 consecutive games appearances.
so
I just include healthy scratches and a couple of
No, you cannot.
hits to the noggin.
You cannot
Taylor-
include healthy scratches.
Taylor Hall is correct me if I'm wrong here. Taylor Hall is a 19-game point streak and a 26 appearance consecutive appearances. Points in 26 consecutive appearances.
I want Cogliano's appearance streak on.
Reinstated.
We have to get
Reinstated.
back to that. Yeah, the appearance thing is still there. You just have to do the math now.
Well, I mean, but I want it acknowledged as if it's still that record.
That's still going to be fun. Taylor Hall against Patrick
By
Laine.
the way, when I was in the Oilers dressing room doing my research the other morning at the morning skate.
So just going through Twitter?
No, I was in the actual. Mike Camilleri gave you his best and asked if you'd mention his name.
Thanks.
He's
been doing great.
I know.
Hey, there was that poll, the NHLPA poll. This may be your answer. Which current or former player would you most like as a teammate?
Yeah.
See, Peter Forsberg was number one. Like Peter Forsberg.
He was number one over Gretzky?
I believe so.
No, I don't think so. I think Gretz
Was
number one.
okay, then Peter Forsberg was second. Like it was right there.
Yeah.
Well,
Do we have that poll?
Gretzky shouldn't even. I surprised him on this one. Gretzky shouldn't even be part of any of these quizzes.
No.
or polls.
He should be exempt.
Yeah, because he's the answer all the time.
Yeah.
Who would really?
He
The NHLPA site's blocked
but you
on
know
your
what?
computer.
Why is that?
On your, really?
Okay, someone text
Forsberg was a heck of a teammate.
us the information.
Hey,
it
Forsberg
tells
was
you-
a heck of a teammate.
This is the kids growing up. Who, former or current, who would you guys like as a? Who would you select as a teammate? Can't be Gretzky because Gretzky would be all of our choices.
Yeah.
Bobby Orr.
Why?
I just thought he was the greatest defenseman to ever play the game, and a team guy, a real team guy.
So you and Bobby Orr on the defense running the power play.
I'd probably defer to him.
Yeah.
I'd defer to Bobby
Yeah,
on
you'd
the
pass
power
to him.
Yeah.
They'd win the draw to you, and you set him up.
But then I'd question him.
Oh, I'm staying with Mark Messier. I mean, come on.
Okay, you can't
Okay?
say Mark
No,
Messier.
I'm telling you because
No.
it was consistent no matter
you
how
were-
many times we went out for dinner or late night festivities. When the check came, he'd look at me and go, I think I can handle it.
No, Kip, you were
And I
his
go,
teammate.
yes.
You were his teammate,
Oh,
so you
okay.
can't say that.
Oh,
Okay.
that's right.
All right. That's a good question.
It is a good one.
It is a great question.
For third?
Oh, you're
Who
not
was-
even
who was second?
close. You
Who
had
was
him at
second?
number one.
Sid was
Who?
second?
Sid.
Where was what was it? What's the percentage?
So Forsberg was ahead of Lidstrom and Lemieux.
Who do you think Sheary?
You know what's
You think
impressive?
You haven't answered the question.
You know what's impressive? That current players knew who Wayne was. That's pretty good.
Do you know?
He gets mentioned the odd time.
Who do you think Sheary and Rust and all these guys voted for on that poll?
So
Yes.
who are you going to? It's a tough
Listen,
question, isn't it?
It's a really hard one. It's a really hard one.
But you because you want to do, you'll do it politically.
No,
because
I
you're,
won't.
you know,
He can't pick a former
I
teammate.
won't.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just it's
well, he's a buddy. It'll be
it's
a
really
buddy
hard.
of some sort.
It'd be like that.
I'm going to go Bobby Clark. I would have loved to have played
if
with
you're
Bobby
gonna
Clark.
then go Schultz. That guy who had your back.
Well, Bobby didn't.
No, Bobby was behind all those guys.
created it.
He created it, and then he went behind all those guys.
I'm going
I'm not
Bobby.
saying he went behind them,
No.
but I'm saying he created it.
Well, I'm not saying Bob hid, but
ask
he
Dennis.
had guys do it for him.
Sometimes you're talking to Dennis Potvin. Ask him what it was like to play the Flyers.
Those are the best guys. If you went back,
What
So
about
I'm
Nick
going- I'm
Lidstrom?
going- you've
What
got-
about
you've
Nick
got a-
Lidstrom?
I had good ones too.
Was
I had
he on the list, Lidstrom?
Wendell. I had Joey Kosher.
But you haven't answered the question.
Who's your best? Who's your favorite?
Which?
I can't do that
Player,
right
current-
now.
Why?
Do some research.
Pronger? You ever play with Pronger?
I
played
I
against
take
them.
Mario or Wayne, just for the attention that those guys drew every night. It was like Hollywood coming to a game. That's kind of cool.
Is there anybody mentioned Yager?
No.
Yager,
And then the music.
second half of his career or first half of his career?
First half.
I can't believe you went Wayne or Mario.
It's all political with him.
It is.
Okay, let's go.
Totally.
I'll go with third place. I'll take Forsberg.
I love Forsberg.
I was surprised Forsberg was in there.
At third, you had him at number one.
Well,
Now you're disappointed that
behind
he was
Sid
third.
and
What
Wayne.
about Joe Sakic? Why is he not in there?
What about Doug McLean, hanging out with Doug McLean?
Well,
What
there was
general
the-
manager would you like to hang out
There was
with?
the poll, which coach would you most like to play for? Joel Quenneville was number one in that. I wanted to see who finished last in that poll, but they didn't publish that.
Any ideas, Mac?
This concludes the
got a
Carolina
few.
Hurricane Hour on Hockey Central at noon. We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming.